It will be a somber day across the country as Americans mark the 11th anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks. From Ground Zero to the Pentagon to a tranquil field in Pennsylvania, thousands will gather to remember those they lost. Nearly 3,000 people died in those attacks. President Obama has proclaimed tomorrow Patriot Day and the National Day of Service and Remembrance. And 11 years after the World Trade Center towers fell, the government is acknowledging that rescue workers at Ground Zero were exposed to cancer-causing toxins. Thousands of first responders, police, fire, and volunteers rushed to Ground Zero after that attack. Some stayed for months. Well, over the next several years, many of them argued that toxins from the World Trade Center rubble gave them cancer. Based on new evidence, the federal government is expected to announce that about 50 new cancers will be covered by a settlement fund set up for victim compensation. Well, local residents who were in or near the Twin Towers on that fateful day say it is about time the government recognized cancer as an illness connected to the toxic dust they breathed in. I caught up with a group of retired firefighters who honored the fallen one day early at Steinbrenner Field. Rich Michio helped place a wreath next to a 9/11 memorial outside Tampa's Steinbrenner Field. Almost 11 years ago, his connection to 9/11 was much different. He was running for his life from a gray cloud of what he calls toxic dust, the remnants of the North Tower as it collapsed.
It blew us down, blew me down, and I have a limited amount of air in my tank, and my visibility was down to zero because the cloud just passed me right by. I crawled on my hands and knees and followed the median up for about a quarter of a mile to where I was able to finally get some clear air.
But Rich, like other first responders, went back and kept working.
But the dust never settled, you know, and the fires burned for 100 days underground. The dust never settled. We ate it, we breathed it, we ingested it.
Rich had to retire due to breathing problems that followed. Under one component of the 9/11 Health and Compensation Act, about 40,000 responders, including Rich, get free monitoring. Some receive medical treatment. But the second part, the Victim Compensation Fund, is reportedly being held up by the issue of whether cancer can be connected to 9/11. Now the government is expected to recognize the link, and Rich says, about time.
Just lost a friend of mine who I worked with for 20 years, and he worked in a firehouse, and he passed away last month of cancer and was dead within 3 months. And another guy right down the road from our firehouse and another firehouse. So it's happening more and more.
Joseph Holland agrees. He spent days in that dust looking for his son who perished. And now he says he has cancer.
It just came up about 4 years ago, and I firmly believe that the city, the state, the federal government has waited too long to do anything about the rescuers, the firefighters, the cops, everybody that was down there. People are dying left and right, and they got nothing.
And as I mentioned, based on new evidence, the federal government is expected to announce any day that about 50 new cancers will be covered by a $2.77 billion settlement fund set up for victims.